I want to throw you a curved ball now because this is deeper even than we've been chatting about. And it's the role of the ladies, which is so important both in Islam and Christianity. But if you talk about U-turns, or the difference being 180 degrees between one religion and another, you've just got to mention the ladies. I don't think I would like to be a lady in Islam. It is particularly harsh. You seem to have reduced rights or no rights.
Mm.
Now, this is causing a collision between feminism, which has been a blight on the Christian community for decades, 4 decades at least, and is at the same time as Islam is coming to fruition, so is feminism. And we referred to the fact that the ladies of a certain age were voting for the Greens. And some pundits are saying, well, this is because the ladies have tried the traditional way. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I think they've been brainwashed in the progressive way to have it all. You're capable of having it all, girls. And you can go out to work, get a high powered job, and at the same time bring a family up. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is that many of the ladies of that age have got completely dissatisfied and have been deluded into this way of thinking and are almost kicking against things. And when somebody like the Greens come along, I mean, if you want to turn this into ridicule, you look at Zach, their leader, saying he can improve your breast size, girls, by hypnotism. And this is the leader of the, well, I don't know. I think I'll vote Raving Loony Party next time because
Mm.
they make more sense. But isn't it bizarre? All this colliding together at the same time. And I believe it's all a spiritual thing. I think it's a role model thing. And the other thing I've been sent from the US was a man that remembers the 50s and remembers one man going out to work, one lady staying at home, and what was the net residual income. And him saying, well, I can remember that we used to have family holidays. No, it wasn't to some exotic place, but it was okay. We had a little bit left over at the weekend so we could go out for a meal and the cinema. And I look at both people working now, he says, and they're both having to work to raise a deposit for the house. They're both scrimping and saving. They're both having to have a car each so that the kids can be driven to school and left in many cases. It has changed, but certainly not for the better, Lynda, when you read something like that. But it's all bound up in what we're talking about.
It is bound up, but I think you've touched on a really complex issue, Rodney. I think down the centuries, I think women have not been allowed to be fully what they've been made to be and called to be by the Lord. And I think there's actually a lot of misogyny around still. I think I don't think you see this in some Christian circles too. Women should not be in leadership and they're not allowed to say this, not allowed to do that, and they've just got to work with children. Um, and I think that's difficult because there are a lot of very highly talented ladies out there. Um, the other side of that is, of course, that we are um, just the way we're created. We bear children and we naturally have great love for those children and want to bring them up. So we're in a peculiar place these days where it seems to be a choice of you either work and have great difficulty bringing up your children, Or you don't have children. That seems to be becoming more and more of a thing. Um, I don't think we've got it right. Now, just coming back to, because you mentioned Islam as well, and I think that the position of women in Islam, I find it appalling because they're not even allowed out of the house without the husband's permission in a strict Islamic household. And of course, they have to wear the burqa and, cover themselves up in case they provoke lust in the eyes of these poor men who are walking around and can't control themselves. Um, it's an appalling position, and they can't work, they can't, they're not even educated properly. And again, there are some very, very highly gifted women around of every ethnicity. And women, because we too are made in the image of God, women must be allowed to be fully themselves and to use the gifts that God has given them. So, no, I don't think Islam's got it right. And it would appall me if I were in Islam and found myself under those kind of restrictions. We were talking about voting a minute ago. Islamic households, the husband will say, "You're going to vote this way," and she just says, "Yes, sir." Well, I'm sorry, I would not like to live like that. But I don't think that in Christian households we've actually got it right as yet either, because I think men and women, we are created um, to complement each other, and we are each made in the image of God, and we are given great gifts. And to say that a woman can't exercise those gifts because she's a woman, thank you very much, so she must keep quiet, is dishonoring to God. So I think we've actually got a long way to go. I do think there's a problem that women should not be forced to go out to work when they've got children and they want to look after the children. Um, Equally, they should be allowed to use the gifts that they have. What's that saying in terms of family? I don't know. I think we just have to come back to God and just ask Him to help us sort this out a bit more. But certainly the family is suffering at the moment because the burden on women in trying to raise children while going out and keeping a full-time job um, is too much. And just have women staying at home as soon as they have children and not doing anything else. That too, I think, is not a proper use of the gifts that God has put within them. And I don't think it's enough to say, well, women can't have any form of headship. To me, just coming back to something basic like marriage, you look at scripture and it's husbands love your wives as Christ loves the church, and it's wives be obedient to your husbands. Now, I think that's saying something about the human condition, which may go back to Eden. But men, I think, need respect, and I think without it, they wither and die. So I think that's where it comes into respect. And women need love and affirmation. So I think that's kind of recognizing something about us. But when it works well, both should be loving each other so much that they're actually releasing each other and supporting each other 100% in their gifts. So it's a union of joint affirmation. It is not about one being head and telling the other what to do, and the other being subservient and just saying, "Yes, sir, what time do you want dinner?" It's actually that relationship of mutual support and release. I put it like that. So I think we've got a long way to go. I don't buy the headship thing that just keeps women in subservience, because some women are very clever and very good And some men are not so bright and get it wrong. Some men are brilliant and get it right, and some women get a bit confused about things and get it wrong. It's individuals, Rodney.
Well, it's back to scripture, both Old and New Testament.
Yeah.
Scripture's not tied by saying you've got to be a man to
Mm.
get anything out of this life. Quite the opposite. And it's not just Mary we're talking about, who was upheld in scripture. Lots of women
Look at
were
Deborah.
exactly.
I mean, she was a ruler of Israel, a judge of Israel, and she got them out of a huge hole. But she was a woman. She was very much a woman, and that's what we need to be as women. As men need to be men. But there are strengths there for both.
Well, there's a great example in Ruth, of course, who was obedient to the
Hmm.
right people at the right time, but came through everything and God honored her.
Yeah.
Interesting thoughts, Lynda. Thank you so much.